Hi guys, I'm so glad you're with me tonight because it has been one of those stop the world I want to get off weekends. But you're here and I feel better, as always. Anyway, I promised with a shit ton of previews and promos to speak about Jane Fonda this evening, who I knew very, very well, in addition to her family, and with whom I played her son in Fun with Dick and Jane, the original version, 1976, 77. And it is a classic. It is like far outweighs this Jim Carrey thing that they did. It is a classic. So I was hired to play Dick and Jane, the old toddler booklets that they give you. See Dick run, see Jane play with Fido or whatever. Spot, actually, in this case. And eventually, in the Dick and Jane stories, as they got older, they were married, of course, and had Billy. Billy, Dick, and Jane were part of the original storylines of those booklets they gave you when you were a toddler. Well, they made a movie of it, and everything went south with that family. You've probably seen either the original or the remake, and so you kind of know that basically everything went south and the family had to resort to crime. So I was hired on that film based on a look-see. I mean, like almost sight unseen, definitely interview unseen. I was doing a Crest commercial with Mr. Goodwin, who was the Crest sales spokesman for Crest toothpaste. It was a whole running series of commercials where the old guy in the toothpaste store gives the customer advice, and of course their teeth are perfect, and the toothpaste is phenomenal. I did one of those. I was very precocious. We've spoken of that word before, and very sort of like little smarty pants. Well, anyway, Ted Kotcheff, who is a famous comedic director, saw it, wanted me, and I was booked. So I'm on the set, lickety split. I actually don't know much about Jane Fonda at all. I actually mistook her stand-in for her. Anyway, I played her son. We got along famously from the get. I contributed little improvisations and ass slappings and all kinds of fun little things that I improvised, and she was, blown away by me. I was blown away by her. So I became part of the family during and certainly thereafter. I became friends with, actually besties, from my perspective, with Vanessa Vadim. Vanessa Vadim is the daughter of Jane Fonda and Roger Vadim, the esteemed film director of Barbarella, among many other things. So, being a part of the family now, I spent a great deal of time with Jane and her then husband Tom Hayden, who was a very, very famous politician in California at that time. And in the midst of running, and certain funds, were dedicated from Fun with Dick and Jane towards Tom's campaign. Very good, very honest, decent politician. Spent a great deal of time with them at their Venice Beach home, 1 block from the sand. A great deal of time there. And I found certain things remarkable, as they might say, about the way Vanessa was raised. But we will not go into that because Jane went into that into her, I should say, her autobiography. So one of the perks of being besties with Vanessa, we would run around, put up signs, children's rights now, the quasi-political sort of influence there. So I was invited to Jane's Santa Barbara ranch at times. You go up, PCH past this weird like Santa Claus village thing that's like always there. It used to be really, really cringy, like spooky. Anyway, you finally get to Santa Barbara, up more rural area. It has 3 homes on it. Main house is being used, pool, somewhat kind of dated, a nice A-frame kind of rustic home that was in development, and then there's a smaller guest house. The smaller guest house is where the children, namely me, Vanessa, and a few other children that would be there with us on these weekends. Lovely. Met Bridget Fonda by the pool, very young at the time. Her brother, the name escapes me, poor dear, suffered with terrible night terrors. I did not get to see or spend much time with him. But again, Bridget Fonda by the pool, lunches, picnicky kind of things, fun. So also in this little kids' house, the guest house where the kids were staying, we would come up with little, skits, scenarios, little music-y things. Grease had just come out. So, of course, Grease was very popular. Frankie Avalon did that funny scene where he steps down with all the beauty queens with the pink beehives and curlers. I don't remember the song, but we decided to throw together a skit, Vanessa and I and a couple of others, based on that scene. I, of course, was Frankie Avalon walking down the stairs with the weirdest interpretation of Frankie Avalon, with the kind of my mouth like sideways and a lot of this going on, whatever. I mean, I was intimately acquainted with the film, but I had no idea where all that was coming from. Very weird, very precocious. Anyway, so in this, we decided to rehearse it and ready it for performance, our little Grease skit. So, and this is just typical of the kinds of things that we would do there at her Santa Barbara Ranch. In fact, when I was there once, they did a cover of, I don't know, Esquire or Cosmo, of her Fabulous at 40. She's leaning against a tree. I was there when they took the picture. Very funny. Anyway, so we orchestrated this skit in the audience, sort of lined up along half of the children's guest house, where we had rehearsed this ad nauseum. We performed it. And of course, I got this usual reaction that I was used to getting at that age, which was this very quizzical, curious kind of vibe that I got from folks, from adults. I'm sure it had to do with my precociousness. At the time, it was sort of a novelty to see maybe sort of a light on their feet child who was actually an extremely successful, well, soon to be extremely successful television actor in the late 70s. So the upshot is that within that little mini audience was Margot Kidder, of course, starstruck. Well, I didn't really get starstruck with folks when I was around them colloquially, casually, but aside from that, I could get starstruck. Anyway, I wasn't, but she was in the audience, front row, poor dear, having to watch me do this twisted kind of imitation of Frankie Avalon. And she had her eyes nailed to me, that whole thing. And I couldn't get, it wasn't that weird curiosity that I was used to. It was, she smiled, sort of a knowing half smile at me, and her eyes sort of glimmered. And I don't know, it stuck out of my head forever to this day. I felt kind of seen for who I was, and I don't know. But anyway, that was many instances, this in particular with Margot Kidder, and everyone that was there that particular weekend, fun as heck in the long run. Again, there is a lot I go into in my book about the times I spent at the Venice Beach House with Tom Hayden and Jane and Vanessa, and then lots about Vanessa in the book, and then lots about Roger Vadim in the book, contrary to some of the things that have been noted about him. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story today. Remember, we have super duper guests coming up that, as you can tell, I'm thrilled about in my little shorts, and we will see you tomorrow. I have some special stuff planned. I love you. Bye-bye.